What's up, y'all, and welcome back to another edition of Too Busy, Too Busy, Too Busy Tuesday. Hey, too busy, too busy, too busy Tuesday. Hey, welcome back, y'all. I'm so excited to be here for another Tuesday with y'all. I missed y'all last week, so I hope you got a chance to catch up if you are behind on any of the episodes. And remember, you can always catch up. All the episodes are available on YouTube. They're available via podcast on Apple Podcast, on Spotify, and also on Google Podcast. And for those of you that may be new here, maybe somebody sent you this, maybe you just kind of happened upon my page. Welcome. My name is Raffinée, and Too Busy is my weekly series where I get a chance to share something that I have decided that I no longer have time or energy for. Now, some of the things that I talk about here are things that are still a work in progress. Some of the things are things that are more hard and fast, and that I'm like, absolutely not doing it. Don't have any time or energy for this. Now, I got to give y'all my disclaimer that I give every time. Just because I'm too busy for something, or if I have a special guest, just because my special guest is too busy for something, does not equal that you too have to be too busy for the thing. Now, the beautiful thing about all of this is that you get to pick and you get to decide what makes sense for your life. So as I share and as my guests share, sometimes you may hear something that you like, you know what? I've been available for this. I've had time. I've had energy for this. And I don't think I have time or energy for this anymore. And that's okay. And there may be some things that I share or my guest shares that you're like, I think I actually do have time and energy for that. That's okay too. You get to decide what makes sense. This is just my opportunity just to share with y'all some of the things that I've kind of learned in my own journey and in my own life. Now, y'all, this topic today is one that is near and dear to my heart because I have struggled, and I mean struggled with this. So, when it comes to negative self talk, to that I say, way too busy, y'all. I have talked so poorly to myself, about myself, with myself, all the things, just me, nobody else. Now, I'm not talking about other people have said these things, and so now I'm like internalizing and mulling over these things. No, I'm talking about the things that I have said to me. Now, if you've been watching or following me for a bit, you've probably heard me say that I believe that I am a recovering perfectionist. And I really do mean that when I say that, y'all, because there has been for a long time, I think even when I was a younger child, this expectation that I had of myself to have everything together, to be perfect, to not mess up, to not make any mistakes. And that, I believe, has contributed to the negative self talk. So I can remember being a younger kid and like I was an A student. I made B's sporadically, but I was an A student. And I was that kid that, always was at school, perfect attendance, like all the things. If I wasn't going to school, something was going on. Like I was really sick. And so I remember being a young kid and expecting so much of myself. And it was the norm. I don't remember somebody challenging me on that until I was probably like in college. And it wasn't early college. It was probably like 3 years into college. Now, I was a super senior in college, so I went to college undergrad for about 6 years. Ask me about that another day. And so about 3 years into college, my undergraduate years, I remember going to therapy, and my therapist was like, you have really like high expectations of yourself and sometimes a little unrealistic. And I was like, what? Like, girl, you don't know me. Like, you just met me. This is a brand new relationship. Like, you don't know Raffinée. And it kind of started this process. At the time, I didn't really know it was starting a process, but it was like a seed was planted that began to like grow over time. And I really started to ask myself that question of like, where did these high expectations come of myself? And through therapy and through, exploration with conversations that I was having with people that were in my life at the time, I did realize that I had one, very, very high expectations of myself, but two, when I did not meet those expectations, when I did not hit those goals that I had for myself, I was so cruel and harsh and mean and quite belittling to myself. Now, my first therapist was the one who kind of unearthed this thing for me. And I was just kind of like, I mean, okay. And, over time started talking to some people, started noticing some things. But it wasn't until I started working with my second therapist that she really started to push in on this, like, be kind to yourself, Raffinée, be gentle with yourself. And I just used to look at her and be like, okay. Because it felt like I don't know what that means. Like, I don't know what it means to be kind and to be gentle with myself. All I know is when I don't meet the expectation, I need to get in on myself. I need to be like, how dare you? How could you possibly mess that up? You must have missed that. That was dumb. That was really stupid. Now, I never said to myself, like, you are stupid and you are dumb, because I knew that I was not dumb and I knew that I was not stupid. Yet, I was really, really hard on myself and kind of like beating myself up a lot. Like, I can't believe you missed that. How could you? Like, that was a big miss, Raffinée. Like, you should be super disappointed or super angry or super like upset with yourself. And y'all, when I tell you that was not fruitful, it was not. Like, I can look back on that time and just be like, I don't know how I made it through that time, honestly, because I was so cruel to me. Other people did not have to be. Other people did not have to say anything negative to me. But here's the thing, when other people did say something to me that I viewed as negative, or like they were trying to, get on to me, or like they were disappointed in me, it exacerbated what I was already doing to myself, because I had it under control. I could get Raffinée together and in line and rebuke her, or whatever you want to call it, chastise her, and be like, girl, you need to get your life together. But when somebody else came, it was like an added layer. And it, like, when I think about it now, I felt like I sunk even lower into the space that I was in, because I was like, man, like, I saw it, but also other people saw it now. And so, y'all, it has taken a lot of work, a lot of therapy. Y'all heard me say I've had two therapists. Not because anything went bad. My first therapist retired. Um, and it has taken a lot of work to get to this space where I am now, where things can happen. And that small little voice still tries to come up every now and then. One of the things I can see now, though, is that that voice is not nearly as loud as it used to be. And I am able to redirect much more quickly. So, this is one of those things where when you're doing therapeutic work, I can say this for my clients, not for my own life. When I'm doing therapeutic work with my clients, one of the things I tell them is that, hey, there's progress happening here, or this will not always seem like this down the line in the future. Yet it's hard to see when you're in the thick of it. And so, I try to encourage my clients, hey, with work and intentionality and being active and not sitting back like this is a passive process, you will be able to kind of deal with and combat some of these things, especially when we're talking about like negative self-talk and like being really hard on yourself. And I can look back in my own life and think about how it was then versus how it is now. And one of the things that I really can see is like, man, I have really learned and been able to actively practice what it means to be kind to me, what it means to be gentle with me, what it means to extend to myself the same kind of care and compassion that I would to a dear friend. Now, I know be kind to yourself is like a super hot phrase in the culture, and like people say it all the time. Yet to actually do that, I don't think it's as easy as like saying be kind to yourself. And also sometimes people don't know, like, what does that even mean to be kind to myself? So for me, one of the things that I had to really work on was, if I made a mistake, that I could acknowledge, like, hey, I made a mistake. It's okay for me to make mistakes. I'm probably going to make more mistakes in the future. And I did not make this mistake intentionally. And so there's no need for me to say, well, you should have done this and you should have. And I can't believe you. Like, no, you made a mistake. You're probably going to make more mistakes. You're not perfect. And even that used to bring up a little anxiety in me, because I was like, but I'm trying to be perfect. Now, I wasn't saying it in that many words, but that's what my goal was. My goal was to keep it all together and be perfect and for nothing to be out of place. And so, y'all, I'll give you a real life example. This literally just happened. So, I ran a 3-day challenge for adults that are engaged in the life of teenagers. And I didn't set a goal for this particular event. Typically, I set a goal for how many people I want to register and then how many I hope will actually attend live. So, anyway, I didn't set a goal for this event yet. I saw people were registering and I felt pretty pleased with the amount of registrations that came in for the event. So, y'all, I did the event and it did not go the way that I wanted to at all. Like content wise was just fine. Like I was prepared, I had my stuff together, yet the engagement and the participation was not what I had hoped for. And so I was super, super disappointed. Like after night 1 of the challenge started I guess not this past Sunday, but last Sunday, maybe 2 weeks ago. Anyway, it started on a Sunday. So it started on a Sunday. Sunday night happened, and I was just kind of like, oh, okay. Like, I did not get the level of participation that I wanted. So night 2 comes. I did not get the level of participation I wanted. Sent out an email. Night 3 did not get the participation I wanted. But here's the thing. Had I been like in this, I don't know, let's say 4 or 5 years ago, I would have probably not finished the challenge. Honestly, I probably would have maybe just been like, canceled. The challenge ain't gonna happen no more or something. But I went through and I finished it and I recorded, and there were nights where people didn't come live. And I was like, well, I told these people I would give them access to the replay. So I'm still going to get up here. I'm going to knock this out the park. I'm going to present like it's 15 people here, like it's 50 people here, if it's just one person here. And y'all, I did it. I recorded every night of my challenge. There were people that logged on some nights, people that didn't log on other nights. Some people watched the replay. And there are these analytics where you can kind of look and see if people watch the replays and recordings. And initially I was looking and I was like, you know what? I don't need to do this because this is putting me in a place. And I don't like the place that I'm getting in as a result of looking at this because it's tapping deeper and deeper into the disappointment. And the disappointment made sense though, because I talked last time I was here about, emotions and not being dismissive of them. And so disappointment happens when there's this expectation that we have that's unmet, whether expectation we have of ourselves or an expectation we have of someone else. So I was not frustrated about the disappointment. I was frustrated that things didn't go the way that I wanted. And what I'm so grateful for is that I did not get into this place about my ability, about my skill, about my expertise, about my knowledge. Like that negative self-talk that would have come up years ago was not there because I was like, this ain't about me. Like I did what I said I was going to do. I showed up. People showed up some nights. People didn't show up other nights. I did the replays and gave people access. I did all the things that I said I was going to do. And so it is so important for me to be intentional about not beating up on myself, about not leaning into that negative talk about Raffinée and who Raffinée is, because it's not helpful. It doesn't push me closer towards my goals. It does not allow me to continue to thrive and flourish and really continue to enjoy the things that I'm doing. And so if you're out there and maybe you're struggling, maybe you have difficulty with negative self-talk, maybe you previously had difficulty and you feel like things are in a better place, shout out to you. If you're struggling and you're like, I don't even know where to begin, here's what I would tell you. Increase your awareness and like just take notice of the self-talk that's happening, whether it's positive or negative. And so one of the things that I did practically was every week I started to reflect and think about like, what kind of things was I saying to myself this week? I would just reflect on the kind of week that I had. And then I would think about what would I say to myself as a result of it? So based on my work, what was I saying to myself about how work went this week? What was I saying to myself about how my relationship with my family and my friends has been this week? What was I saying to myself about achieving and reaching my goals with fitness and finances and all the things? And the I think a lot of the first step in this is increasing your awareness of it, because what I know happened for me was, because my negative self-talk was so prevalent and regular in my life, I did not really notice it most times. It took me really slowing down and assessing and trying to see, like, okay, what did I say to myself this week? Was I down on myself? Was I kind to myself? Was I rude to myself? Did I belittle myself in any kind of way? Did I have unrealistic expectations of myself? So, the first step, I believe, is increasing your awareness. And then once you've increased your awareness, then you can start to kind of replace those things with things that are more healthy, more helpful. They don't have to be positive in that you're like lying to yourself. Now, I'm not a fan of that, yet being honest and truthful with yourself while also being kind with yourself. And so for me, with the challenge the other week, it was, you know what? The challenge didn't go the way that you wanted. That's okay. Like, you're still figuring out what works, what feels really good for you. That doesn't mean don't ever do the challenge again. I may make some tweaks to the way that I advertise the challenge, how long I advertise about the challenge, what I choose to focus on with the challenge. Get some feedback even from people that maybe watch the replay of the challenge and see, what were your thoughts to the people that attended live? You have any thoughts or feedback? Gather information. And so it is, I think, a great opportunity for me, and potentially for you too, to really extend that kindness, care, compassion, and grace with yourself that you would give to a dear friend. So I want to hear from y'all in the comments. Like, are you too busy for negative self talk? And if so, what have you seen that's been helpful for you? What has not worked so well, even? Because knowing the things that haven't worked so well is also helpful, because then you can shy away from those things. All right. So I hope to see y'all next week for another edition of Too Busy.